Now, these theories have been criticised, and that's what I want to look at quickly now. Or unless you want to ask me anything else about those three different types of attachment.
Dave, what age does Bowlby sort of cover with the child? Is it up to sort of 5? What age does he sort of...
No, right throughout childhood.
Right through childhood.
Yeah. So this will apply throughout childhood, and some writers would say right throughout our lives. We take these attachment patterns into adulthood, and we then have a tendency to replicate them with our own children. I think Bowlby in his original work, The Growth of Love, was talking about babies and toddlers. That was published in 1950, and he published a number of books after that, and then other writers have kind of developed this theory. So originally, yes, he was mainly concerned about babies and toddlers.
Does he only identify one kind of secure attachment then?
Yes. Basically, the secure attachment, if we could lift that up again, would be where all of that is working pretty well. Yeah. But again, you know, whether you regard it as working well or not so well, it's not an academic point really. It's to do with, well, does the child appear to be developing reasonably well, reasonably happy, or are there problems? It tends to be that we look at attachment issues when somebody's coming and saying, look, there's a problem. You know, he's wetting all the time, or she's very unhappy, or she just won't leave me alone, she's very, very clingy, or a neighbour is saying, you know, the child's so frightened he's actually hiding in the garden when they come back from the pub at night. Those would be the kind of presenting problems which might make you think there might be an issue with attachment. Yeah, but no, there aren't any different types of secure attachment according to this theory. So, if you read any of those three books which I'm passing around, you see there's a section in there on criticisms of this theory of attachment. And there are 3 or 4 main criticisms. The earliest criticisms were by another developmental psychologist called Michael Rutter, R-U-T-T-E-R, Michael Rutter, who's written extensively on child development and attachment. And his criticism was that Bowlby's theory was far too reliant on the mother. Okay. Bowlby in his original works talks just about the mother and the importance of a child having a strong attachment to the mother. And what Rutter said was, well, look, it's not just the mother. Children can be attached to other people. Father, grandparents, relatives, foster carers, adopted parents. It isn't just mother focused. Often mothers are the most important attachment figure, that is true, but he felt it was far too focused just on mothers. And the original theory did put an awful lot of emphasis on mothers. And many people believe that his theory became quite popular at that time because actually government policy was very much encouraging women to move back out of the workplace and back into the home after the war. During the war, women had come into the workplace because men were serving in the army, and they worked in factories and they drove the trains and the buses, etc., etc. But there was a problem after the war with unemployment, and one theory goes that in fact this theory chimed in very well with government policy which wanted women to move out of the workplace and back into the home. And feminists have argued that women were made to feel very guilty about working because of this theory. Okay, the theory that if you weren't at home with your child, you were somehow failing your child. So there's an interesting point there about how theories have to be seen in their social context. Okay, the context of their time. What else is happening at that time which is influencing the theorists, the academics, because they're not immune to that. They are influenced by that as well. Bowlby's also been criticised for being too Eurocentric, by being too focused on what happens in middle-class European and American families, or what he saw as happening at that time in the 40s and 50s. He was looking at a family being mother, father and children.
Who was looking at another child?
Bowlby, John Bowlby.
How do you spell the second?
Bowlby. So from a cultural point of view, you could say, well, what about other cultures which don't emphasise those kind of relationships so much? What about cultures where children are brought up by a whole group of people? Are we saying that those children are not going to be able to form secure attachments? Clearly they can. It's just that their relationships are different because their culture is different. Some children may be more used to being passed from one relative to another. They spend some time with their grandmother, some time with their parent, some time with somebody else. There isn't really any intrinsic reason why they shouldn't develop secure attachments. Children can have attachments to different people. But Bowlby's theory tended to emphasise the importance of this mother-child attachment, so tended in a way to devalue other cultural experiences of parenting and family life. So that's another criticism. Okay, so the two main criticisms really are the overly focused attention to mothers and the lack of cultural sensitivity. Bowlby did in fact modify his theory as he revised it. So he took on board those criticisms, but those were certainly very strong criticisms of his original work.